Welcome back everyone, and thank you for visiting this channel, the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. I'm making a video today. This is a purchasing video, and this is my only second ever purchase of a vintage overlock machine. In North America we call them Sergers when we're referring to home versions, and this in fact is This in fact is one of the earliest of the home or domestic grade overlock machines. You can say overlocker or serger, and you see the name BabyLock. Now when I was talking to you folks about the Elna that I purchased, and you can see the Elna sitting right there, that's a mid-1980s Elna, and I bought it because it has a lot of apparently, from my glancing at it, I'm very new to the Sergers, obviously, but these are the older Sergers appear to have more metal and less plastic, just like sewing machines from the vintage era. And of course, as you roll through time, they would replace more of the metals with plastic. Now, I mentioned to you guys that the Juki company, or engineers at what would form Juki, they actually came up with they innovated and created the first home serger machines. Now, you might think, well, I thought overlock machines were a lot older than that, and they are in industrial machines, because don't forget the Mero overlockers, or you could call them industrial sergers. Again, we can use those terms interchangeably for the moment. Those old Mero machines, those were from the 1940s, but the overlock machine was invented by Mero back in, I believe, the 1880s. Now, there may have been people experimenting with trying to create one, but they were one of the first creators of a successful launch of an overlock machine, and they were a lot simpler than the ones they use in factories today. But it's kind of interesting that it would take over 80 to 90 years after the first overlock machine was invented for industrial use for someone to come out with one for home use. And remember, they had to be successful in terms of its performance, but also had to be affordable. Any of you who use sergers, overlockers, know that they're fairly complex mechanisms. Maybe all sewing machines are, I don't know. I'm not sure what I think about that yet. And I haven't even finished, by the way, overhauling the Elna, and I saw this one and I thought, well, I'm going to get another one. I couldn't help myself. You guys who buy machines know this. You probably, some of you have a lot more sewing machines than you probably actually have a need for, but need and want are two different things. But my interest and fascination with going back even further in time from the mid-80s Elna, which has a lot of great features that you might say are unique to it. But this, of course, the name BabyLock is, it makes sense because, and it actually came with its cover, or cover for something. I think this may be the original cover, so I'm going to be a little gentle with it. It looks like vinyl from the 60s. So this machine, and I'm literally showing this to you guys as I'm literally just, I'm opening it up. I purchased it and I had no chance to test it out or even fully inspect it when I bought it. But these machines came about in 1964, 63, 64s, when around that time is when Juki creates these. I don't know if that's the year Juki was formed. I don't want to say that until I know better. But there are some interesting features to these machines. Now, this is a 3-threader or 3 spools, 3 cone threading machine. They did have a 4 cone or 4-thread machine, 3 to 4 thread, I think they're referred to. And that series it goes by EA, and I think it has a 600 nomenclature, and there are multiple models. There may be others, okay, so don't hold me to that. This particular one is the B series, or BL3. This is -406. There was a -407, I think 408, and so forth. There were a number of series that came out. But I thought it was interesting because this machine weighs about the same, I think, as the Elna, but the Elna is much bigger. So this machine has a smaller footprint, but it weighs the same, I think. Haven't put them on a scale, but this one has even more steel than the other one does, because this panel, these are, I believe this is steel. Now I better go back. I'm going to get my magnet out. This actually may be a plastic cover. Whichever of those details I may have missed in terms of what is steel and what is plastic, I'll go through it. We're going to be doing more videos on this, but I just wanted you guys to see it because I just got it. I'm hoping that I'm not missing a check spring. Now, all three of these dials look the same. I'm going to have to open these up and clean them because they're very stiff. I don't know when was the last time this thing was used. I have no clue. And I'll do a comparison between this and the Elna so you guys can see the change over time. You know, I have been talking in the past about hybrid sewing machines and how the end of all metal machines, they started introducing plastic, and it was slow at first, and that's true with Sergers as well. But notice this is, and it has a little arrow, you grab a hold of this knob and you pull down, and it is spring loaded just like the Elna is. The Elna may have been made by Juki, I don't know. It was made in Japan, as was this model. The first home Sergers were all Japanese made. Today, modern ones are not made in Japan. They're made in either Taiwan or mainland China and other countries as well. Vietnam is another place. But I'm showing you this because this front panel, which you flip down, it doesn't have the nice little threading chart. I'm going to have to find that. I'm going to have to get a manual to get the threading chart for this. And interestingly, this model, this is made by Juki, you turn the wheel away from you. And I only know that because there's a big arrow here on the side. Now, the Elna does the opposite. It turns towards you. Anytime you get a machine that you're not familiar with, and this is true not only of Sergers, but of sewing machines as well, don't assume that you know which way the hand wheel or the main pulley wheel turns. Because you need to double check. I know many machines, they always, they turn away from you like many Singer sewing machines do. But there are exceptions, so you want to know this, and I'm glad I did because you could see, and there's a little tangle of thread here. I'll be getting that out. Now this machine, I believe, as far as I can tell, and I'll have to double check, I think it only holds one needle, whereas the Elna holds two. And the Elna is a 5-threader, right? So you can do more fancy overlocking stitches. This machine, just like I say, many from the era, you will see holes here, and they've got bright red paint, or which tells you, hey, that's an oiling point. And if we come around this way, you'll see one on the back. It's actually on the top at a slanted angle. Notice the handle is a nice beefy piece of steel here. You'll notice it if I move the camera. Nice beefy piece of steel. We have, and oh, this is another thing in the back. I noticed, of course, this was in good shape. I was worried it might be broken, but it's telescoping. I'm going to go into the features of this machine more in other videos, but I wanted you guys just to kind of get an initial glance, right? So this model and the 600 series models, which have the 4-thread, and you'll know that because you'll have 4 tension assemblies. Those models were also built, and they may have even done a 3-thread version like this for Singer, and they were called Singer Professional Sergers, and they begin with the digit 10, and I think they have the letter U in them, and I'll have to dig further for that information. So you may see a Singer version. The Singers that I've seen come in a blue, but it's not this bright. It's more of like a grayed off dusty blue color, which Singer may have been using on other machines at the time. Now this particular model, unlike the Elna, there's a swing out part, but this one is underneath. And there it is. Look, guys, there's the thread guide, which just discovering this, it even tells you what kind of needle to use. This uses different needles than the Elna, by the way. And of course, you can get access to underneath and the side. But we'll talk more about that in future videos. What I do want to show you is everything else that came with this compact little cute device, little machine here. Let's see. So this machine came with a foot pedal and a cord. I believe you can still get cords for these, which is nice. The foot pedal says it's rated at 110 to 125 volts, which is North American voltage. And it says made in Japan, YDK. Some of you may recognize that name from a company that made other Japanese electricals. But you can see by the early to mid 60s, Japan was now producing, unlike in the 1950s, where they would send over the main body of the machine and they would use North American, either American or Canadian electricals. By this point, the Japanese industry has come a long way, and they've actually managed to have enough production capacity to start making their own electricals with North American standards, because in Japan they don't use 110. I don't know what they use, but it's different. So you have this. Now, this is kind of interesting. I don't hear any noise when I shake this. I'm still going to be going inside of it, though. I'm going to look inside and inspect it. This has rubber feet. The rubber feet are still good. So it looks like it, hopefully it was not put in an attic anywhere. There's a label on this foot pedal. It says, "Don't put anything here. Keep plug off after using." I don't know if this was original from Juki, or if this was something somebody put on here. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe they didn't want it damaged. There is a kind of a little dent here on the top, but again, I'll be testing this and inspecting it to make sure that it's good. And of course, I'll do the same with the cord. I don't see any cracks or splits in the cord, but I'm just staring at it now. Hasn't even been unraveled here. So we'll be going through that. What else did I get? I got a little box. It says accessories, and it says sewing machine, and it says BL3-406, which is this model. So I believe this came with this machine. What I find funny is that even then, with these machines, they were still giving out, they would have the plastic molded sewing machine accessories, but there's no branding on it, I guess to save money, and then they put a little decal. At least they put a decal on what it went to, because you guys who have a lot of those 1950s and 1960s sewing machines made in Japan, it just has a box that will say accessories or attachments, and that's all it tells you. And that wouldn't be so bad as long as they're the right ones. But many of you have noticed that with machines that like those I was referring to, unfortunately the attachments, especially cams, often go missing and get separated from the machine, in part because people don't know what they go to. So let's open this up. What do we got in here? We have, looks like, BabyLock DC1. It looks like a needle case. I don't see any needles left, but there it is. We have a screwdriver, and how much of these tools are original, I don't really know, guys, because again, I've talked about this when I talk about sewing tables. People collect things over the years, and you never know what they've got in here. You can't assume everything goes to the machine you're looking at. This it says stainless Japan. I suspect this is possibly original. These are, of course, they're tweezers, but they're really angled. They're angled here, and they're very commonly used to thread sergers. And I'm about to learn how to thread a serger. I've heard a lot about it. We'll see how it turns out. Here's a needle threader. This looks generic. You guys may have seen those. Here's a spool of thread. Don't know what it's doing in here. Typically, you wouldn't use a spool like this for a serger because you need bigger spools, because sergers go through lots of thread. Here's some sort of netting. I don't know what that's all about. Here is what looks like a lint brush, but you'll notice it has a little loop on the end, and I'm wondering if this was also used to help pull threads. I don't know. We'll find out. I don't even know if that's original or not. Here's another screwdriver. Not sure. I'm glad it's there. Don't get me wrong. Maybe it is original. Who knows? What is it? Does it say anything on here? There's some sort of code number. That's all we've got. No fancy branding at this point. And we have little wrenches. And I'm going to assume these might go to this machine. Be curious to see what they might be used for. Yet another screwdriver. And I see a blade in here. I don't know if this is new. Wait a minute. Do I see one or two blades? I see I've got one extra blade here, and I don't know if somebody ordered a set and they came in pairs of two and they only needed one. I don't know if this is an old blade. Who knows? But anyway, it's there. And you can still get blades for these, thankfully. I don't know about the loopers. So that's a question when you're dealing with vintage Sergers. And then I have this, and I'm going to have to figure out what it goes to. Maybe the manual will tell me. If any of you know what this is, please tell me. I have no clue. Again, some of the sewing machine videos I've made, I've been overhauling them so long. You guys know I sometimes will talk about them in a very familiar way because I am familiar with them. I'm not familiar with these, and so you get to watch me kind of, fumble my way through this. And so if you've ever been new to sewing machine repair or restoration, then you can watch me do that as I learn about them. So we'll do it together. Maybe you're new to these as well. I don't know. So what do I see? I see a machine. It's got some dirt, probably some old oil and grit. And it occurred to me another reason you always want to clean a machine. I'm not even going to try to turn this on. First of all, I see a ball of thread here, which I'm going to need to get out of there. And I'm going to find a new needle. I've got lots to do as I'm doing with the Elna before I even get moving. One thing I did want to show you guys, well, let's see what's under the tape here. They taped something down and, oh, well, how about that? Do you guys see this? You recognize this? How many of you think this goes to this machine? If you do, that is not correct. This is, and I believe I'm right based on how many sewing machine feet I've looked at. This is a rolled hem foot. I sometimes see them called felling feet, but maybe I'm mistaken. And I believe it's a high shank. This would go to some of the Japanese machines and many of the Neki machines from the 50s. This foot does not go onto this serger. In fact, it doesn't go to a serger at all. Why is it here? Because whoever got this machine, when I bought it, this was with it. But again, it's not unusual to find items with sewing machines or in tables or in sewing cases. And it might confuse you. You might think, well, what does this do? It might, don't throw it out because it might go to the machine. But you also may find out it goes to something else. Because again, people would say, oh, I know someone, you sew? Hey, I have some sewing stuff. Do you want it? Well, sure. And they would take it. And they didn't know what, either they didn't know what it was or they said, sure, I'll take it. And they put it in their sewing box. So you never know what you're going to get sometimes with sewing, old sewing boxes. And this item was with this, and when I first saw it, all I could see in the listing was this box, and I thought, well, I kind of know what this is, but I'm not used to seeing this with vintage sewing machines. Well, in fact, it's not an accessory for this machine. It is a pair of electric scissors. Now, some of you use these. I've never used a pair of electric scissors because I don't do enough sewing to justify it. But I guess if I sewed really big pieces, I might get tired of manual sewing and go to electric. Now, it says tempered chrome stainless. It's right on here. And I'm looking at this, and it says, let's see if we can tell where it's made. Japan. And it says on the top, press here to slide, so it has a button and a control. I've never used one of these, so we'll see how that works out. You can control medium, light, or heavy. It looks like you can control this based on the type of fabric you're doing. But take a look, guys. I'm going to move this out of the way. And it says Pencrest. Now, Pencrest is the brand. Okay, not necessarily the manufacturer, but that's the brand. It's called the Electric Scissors 3-speed rotary motor. So there's a motor inside this little thing. These are not very big. You see it in my hand here. So I know what that brand means, but I'm gonna ask you guys, let's just do a little guessing game here, and I'll talk about it later on because I'm gonna try to figure out how to use these. that ought to be good comedy as well, because I've never used the set. So those of you who've used electric scissors, you might want to tune in and watch me make a fool of myself. But the name Pencrest, guys, I think I may have mentioned it once before in a video. I can't remember. But this is a brand. This was a brand, Pencrest. Where would you go if you were looking for the Pencrest brand back then? I don't believe it exists now. But where would you go to buy that? You guys tell me, because the business that sold this is still around, at least as of the time of this video. So you guys tell me, put it down in the comments there and see if you know. I think some of you may. I'll give you one hint. Pencrest was a brand in sewing, and that's all I'll tell you. And you can obviously see it here. These are for these electric scissors. So who knows? Of all the things I've ever gotten when I bought a machine, I've never gotten a pair of these, but I'll have to check it out. And if it's old enough, maybe these are well made too. I don't know. But that's it, guys. I just wanted you to see this. this really, again, at the beginning of home Sergers, this would be a pioneering machine. I really admire the Japanese engineers who figured out how to do this, because while they understood, you know, I'm sure they studied industrial sergers and overlockers. Okay, they didn't invent the serger, but trying to figure out how to make one for home use would have been pretty challenging, right? How are you going to produce it? Now, granted, in the 60s, labor and manufacturing costs in Japan were lower than they were in Western Europe and in North America. And here you can see the little arrow. It says, hey, turn it this way. But I'm not even going to turn much. It's moving, thankfully, a little stiff. But again, I've got to make sure I don't have any thread jams, because I don't want to stress any of the parts. You'd be surprised, thread may not seem really strong, but it can cause real problems in your machine if you're not careful. So always be aware that that thread jams are important. You should pay attention to them and get rid of them before you do anything else with your machine. So there you have it, guys. Yet another serger that I am anticipating trying to restore once I understand how it works. So anyway, again, I'm going to have to get a manual. If there is one online, I'll try to see if I can find one. If not, I'll purchase one. They're usually 10, 15 bucks tops to get a PDF. As long as it's a good quality, good scan, I'm happy to have that. And the great thing about PDFs, as long as the quality of the scan is good, if you lose the paper copy that you may have printed out from it, you can always print another one. But anyway, here you go, guys. This is it. I'm hoping nothing else is missing, because I don't even know enough about these machines to you know, I tried to guess. Not a lot of videos online with these. There's a couple, but then I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna figure out how to sew with it. Interestingly, I'm just looking here, noticing that the take-up arm is behind this little shield. Interesting, because the Elna's not done that way. But anyway, there you go, guys. Just a little introduction to my second serger. I was so excited about these old sergers having some metal parts, unlike the new sergers, that I haven't not fully even cranked up or tested my Elna lock. So I don't even know if the Elna is going to run. And here I am getting another one. So it's hard to say no sometimes. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. There will be a series of videos on this machine as I go forward. And I hope, we shall see, I hope to possibly be able to bring it back to life. But first I have to understand what it is I'm dealing with, and completely new. So if you guys have ideas about what you would like to see in the video for these machines as I go along, because I'm going to have them for a while, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. And then, you know, I may, you know, have to do one to show how it's threaded. First, I have to learn how to thread it. That would be nice before I try to teach anyone. And then just kind of explore how the machine is set up, how it's maintained. I don't know if the same company, Juki, which made the BabyLocks, and I don't know if today BabyLock and Juki are separate companies. I don't know. A lot happens in the corporate world. But anyway, we will. I'll do different videos. I'm going to do kind of an inspection video. That'll be separate. I'm already at 23 minutes on this one, so we'll be doing an inspection video. Kind of go around, see what do we think about this. What's, you know, is it missing anything else? Is it not? Turns out the Elna was missing a number of parts I had to get. So far, we'll see what the BabyLock may or may not need parts-wise, and then we will, you know, go through trying to understand how to clean it, lubricate it, and test it. So lots to do, lots to talk about with these. And again, I always welcome your comments. I try to respond to some. I can't respond to all because the channel is growing, which is great, but it's becoming more difficult to get to everyone. So I apologize if I haven't been able to answer your comment or question. I can't always do that. But anyway, if any of you have one of these machines, please, it would be great to hear from you. You may have wisdom to share with me so that I can learn and then share something, wisdom or whatever you want to call it, with the people who subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much. Stay safe, and we will see you in the next video.